Starting now. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We see some folks are still joining us, but want to say thank you to everyone who's joining. We're so excited to welcome you to our parent and supporter orientation. All right, David, you ready for this?
Yeah, let's get going.
All right, wonderful. Let's start us off.
Are we going to wait a couple?
Oh, okay.
Are we going to go right now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's do it.
All right, well, I'll start. Well, hi, y'all. My name is Mickey Antovich. I am the Assistant Dean of Students and Director of New Student Services. I know that's a mouthful, but I use the she series pronouns, and I'm so thankful to be with you all. I have been here at UC Berkeley for about 6 years now, and my time has solely been focused on helping and supporting that new student experience. And I want to introduce you to my lovely colleague, David.
Hello, all. My name is David Ortega, and I'm the Director of Parent Services and Communications. I'm an alum from Cal, as well as my wife, and I have been on the Berkeley campus for 34 of the last 36 years. To say I know the place is kind of an understatement. However, there's always something to learn on this campus. So I offer that, and I also offer my expertise as a parent, because I'm a Cal parent as well, although my student graduated a couple of years ago. And now I've kind of seen it all from the admissions all the way into graduation. So I offer that as a resource for everyone. And so we look forward to talking with you soon and making sure that everybody's safe and when you get to come on campus. All right. Get the roll call. Okay, so the goal for our time together is to engage in dialogue. It's not a lecture. We're not here to lecture you. We're here to give you knowledge. We're here to make sure that in this time of transition, you have some resources for you, not only your student, but yourself, because there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you're gonna need to know, be armed with information. So the Q&A function is available to you. And so if you would like to ask a question, you can ask it through the question and answer button, as you see. We're not going to give you a bunch of dates, deadlines, although we will at the end. But we want to just give you a good, well-rounded view of how your first year is going to come, and how it's going to be, how we're going to roll through this. You know, so enjoy. We're ready to have you. We're ready to do this. And all right.
All right. And for all those, we have captioning available. So if you at the bottom would like to enable captioning, please feel free to use that as well. But before we jump in, we want to know a little bit who you are. I know in the virtual setting, it's a little hard to have that dialogue. So here's that time for that interaction. It's your first taste of maybe what a virtual class might have been like for Berkeley students. So it's going to help us guide our conversation today. And we want you to know that there are many others who identify themselves as a parent or supporter of an incoming student. And in the same way we welcome them to Berkeley community, we want to welcome you. So we are going to launch a poll, and we're going to launch that real quick. And you can just asking a few questions about you and who your student is. I'll launch that now for just about a minute. And then we'll share it with all of you after we see your results. We'll let it go. There are 4 questions. Let's see them coming in. And it's going really fast. It's going to break my poll. Okay, you all are doing great. Okay, we have actually almost 80% of folks. So I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds. Have you all do that. And we ask that I see some folks raising your hands. If you all can, again, use the Q&A function. We have an incredible group of students and staff behind the scenes. You may not see their faces, but they are helping us today to really answer all of your questions. All right, so just a few more seconds. We're at about 88%. All right. We are going to end the poll. If you're still going, it's okay. I promise we'll still hear from you later on. We got more to go. We're going to end this. And we're going to share the results. So you all should probably hopefully see on your screen some of the results coming in. It's a pretty cool thing. So while the majority of you all are parents, I'm seeing that 99% of you are parents. Hello. And then we've got a few other, I think one is a guardian, and most of you are parents to first-year students, and a few are transfers, but please know about 1/3 of our incoming class are transfers. So your student, while you may be a smaller group here, we have 1/3 of our incoming students are transfers, and I love them as a transfer student myself. So very excited to serve them. David, can you see results too? Are you seeing where folks from? We've got.
I can, and most of the people are from Southern California.
Okay, coming up, and we have 57 Berkeley alum in the room, so we want to say hello, welcome back-ish, and go Bears to you all. We're so excited to have you and this next generation of Berkeley students and your family join us. How wonderful.
We have a good amount of out-of-state as well.
Wonderful.
and 35 people outside the US.
Well,
Fantastic.
thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you all.
That's great.
All right.
Typically, when we have this in person, we would say, yell out your state or yell out where you're from. And we typically will anoint the person that came the furthest to Berkeley. And it's pretty fun. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it and jumping in on this conversation, because this is really, really good for us to know.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you again. We're going to jump in now, kind of really wanting to talk about what transition looks like for you and your whole family. And really that we want to really embrace the fact that you've been a part of your students' experience up until this time, and you're going to continue to be a part of it. So hoping that is really, really what our conversation is focused on. And please know we had some incredible campus partners make videos that are also available in Spanish and Chinese that are available on our parent supporter Facebook, on our website, as well as on our YouTube pages. So excited to be able to share that logistic information with you as well. Right. So I want to just take a moment to recognize the last 2 years. I hear from students and families that they are eager to look ahead and to use this transition as a marker to move forward. And while we're excited to celebrate this next chapter with you and your students, I need to recognize the tremendous pain and grief that many are still carrying with them today. My context is based on being in Northern California and working in a job that has allowed me the opportunity to work remotely. That may not have been the case for you or your students or for those that you care about. And to that end, we are so happy to celebrate the joy of watching that confetti fall down the screen as your student read their acceptance letter. And we're eager to support them and support your student as they take on the new identity of being a Berkeley student.
And know that I think are we in the next one? Your student's not alone in this transition. This experience has been new for you, new for them, new for everybody. All of us as staff, we have endured a ton, and we have this staff on our campus has really been good about really finding the right spot for us to be at, yet staying safe and being able to be there for our students, because our number one priority is our students, the safety of our students, the health of our students, the mental health of our students. It's been at the forefront, and it's been talked about in just the grandiose way it should be talked about, from the chancellor all the way down to the people who are to everyone in every level of the administration.
One thing I love about Berkeley is that while it's challenging, students really learn how to use their voice and advocate. Often they're advocating for others, but I'm actually hoping you can encourage them to advocate for themselves. Berkeley isn't necessarily a place where there's someone checking on your student daily or weekly. Maybe that's how it is for you at home right now. It's like, hey, what you doing right now? And 5 minutes later, hey, what you doing right now? Unless you're, student actively searches for that community. And I hope during Golden Bear orientation next week, which I will speak about at the end of our time together, they will begin to build those communities and learn how to navigate support systems and really start to be the support system for others around them. We talk about the Berkeley community, and I don't think that word is valuable enough to really capture everything that's coming. And it's still new, so it takes some time to build. Very true.
And many parents, you saw the poll. There's no typical parent-child relationship. A lot of things changed, and a lot of things over the past year have not been the same that might have been your expectation or their expectation. So whether it's simply because you're facing difficult experiences, or your relationship may look different than what you or your student might expect, it's still your experience and your relationship, and we're going to have a relationship with you as soon as you get here, and your relationship will change with your student as well. So we know it's a partnership. The university has been, we're celebrating our 152nd year, so we've been around for a while. We know how to get this done, and so we're looking forward to having all of your students on our campus. And the greatest thing about Cal is that it's a public institution. It focuses on the public and everybody within it. We're always trying to make sure that we are doing the right thing, not only for your student, but for the people who else are walking this planet. And we believe that. Our advocacy is huge, and we believe that this is an important part of teaching students how to look beyond just their immediate needs. So I believe we're a good partner. I believe that when you consider choices of where they could have gone to school, this is an unbelievable consortium of faculty, of people who work here. We have tons of alumni who work here. I forget the number, but it's in the hundreds of all of our alumni. They want to leave their mark on this campus by teaching the next generation of what it's like to be a Cal student and how to love this Berkeley campus. It's fun, and we draw on those experiences, and we just want to make sure that we're helping out our next generation come up and be the type of Berkeley grad that they can be, and that's really helping society. So, not only transition for your student, because you know that they're coming a good distance to be here, but it's also a transition for your whole family. Everybody within your family tree, within a house, with they're in the community, they are going to feel the transition of a student leaving, and it's not all bad. Sometimes people get sad, and they get sad that the child is leaving us and they're going away. But in reality, they're going to grow. They're going to grow as they get going, and their Berkeley experience is one that is going to just be multiplying as they get here. But your experience as well is going to change.
So like this last year, your relationships with family and friends likely changed, whether that be extended time away or way too much time together, maybe navigating the uncertainty of health, finances, well-being. Your student also probably underwent tremendous transition this last year in how they operated as a student. Distance learning was incredibly challenging for some, and others, it really allowed them to be supported in ways that the education system historically has not supported them. So as you embark on another transition, as they do as well, we want to take some time really just to actually celebrate you and remember that it's not just a big moment for your student, but for you and your family as well. So we're going to do one last poll to really just ask for you all, tell us a little bit about you and your families. So I'm going to do, ready, and it's 4 questions, and these are really specific about kind of this, or are they the first in your family to attend college? Are they the first student you're sending off to college? Are they the last? And then I guess one of my favorite questions, and this I should have extended it, is how many you've sent. I think our record, David, what's our record? Like 9? 6, 9. It was something basically where we should have handed the mic to that parent. Clearly, right. They're in charge of the presentation, not us. So we're pretty excited. So we've got folks coming in. One thing about, I think, a third of our incoming of our student body, and this number varies for our transfer population versus our first year population, are first generation college students, and that is incredible. So I know we're seeing different numbers kind of come in here, but that's something I am proud to be a part of. I think I also take it very seriously with our orientation, and remembering that college inherently is new, and even for our transfer students, they may have attended a community college, but we like our acronyms here, and we like our different processes. And so that's our role as New Student Services, is to help students through that transition and know that whether they're the first in your family, or like we saw before, we have some second, maybe third generation Berkeley students in your family, that still it's new for them. And so we treat all of them, recognizing that this is a new place, a new environment. So we're excited to welcome them. All right, we've got a couple more, come about 85%. So I'll give it just a couple more seconds to see what we have from folks. Curious, might ask, got a couple of the 5 pluses in there. I might actually ask if someone wants to put their answer, if they're more than 5, what their number is in the Q&A, and see if our students behind the scenes could chat us of like, what is see if we can beat our record this year.
There's one person with 4.
We got 6 with 4.
Oh, 6 with 4. Oh,
3 with 5. Again, it's those individuals. I want to know what the plus is.
Yes.
Right. I want to know what the plus is. All right, so I'm going to end the poll now, and I'm going to share it with y'all. What we're seeing is, at least in this group here, about 16% of your students are going to be the first in your family to attend college. That is amazing. And you've been a part of that. And there probably can also maybe feel a little daunting of like, I don't know how to support them. But know that we have incredible services. Our Educational Opportunity Program, or EOP, really supports our first generation students, and they are definitely not alone. It's a huge, I think, cornerstone of our Berkeley education is expanding access to college. So really.
And along with that, when the first student, as I was, when I left Los Angeles to come to Berkeley, you bring your family with you. And you bring your siblings with you. You bring with the community with you. And it's a great opportunity for your student to be here on the campus, but also for your family to visit and to also engage in the campus. That is one of the great joys I see is when the families just take full advantage of the campus.
We have 70% of the folks here, and there's over 800 people who are saying this is their very first student. Wow, that's incredible. And probably I'm sure you're all so happy and excited and both terrified and feeling every positive emotion. My daughter is going to be turning 2 in 2 weeks. I actually went into labor during parents board orientation a couple of years back, and I'm still like, she can't be going to college yet. And I know you probably are having those moments of like, they're just little, I'm not ready for them to go. And for those 3 of you who said 5+, if you'd be up for throwing it in the Q&A, and we obviously won't answer that as a question, but I'm very curious what your plus is.
Looking through the Q&A.
Yeah, to see if you can find it, David. And we've got 44% of you, this is your last. So again, it's also a big transition for your family that way of just maybe you've had, whether this is your first or 5+ student that you sent off to college, it will feel like a transition for your family as well. So like I said, we just want to take that moment to kind of hear from you all, and don't ignore what you will experience in this emotional transition. You're going to need time to adjust to your new family dynamic. And remember that this is a transition for the whole family. If there are younger siblings who will still be at home, they'll need your support just as much as your college student. Consider how will things change for you? How will things change for others in your friend or family relationship? You know, there's plenty of friends or neighbors that feel just like family, even if they're not blood relatives. And you may be experiencing challenges or changes with your relationship with your student already. David, I love the story that you always tell about how your daughter reacted when your older son was in college.
So when we have this orientation, we used to have it in the summertime, and we say, hey, go back and have a discussion with your student and your family, and explain to them that your son's leaving or your daughter's leaving or your student is going off to college. What do you guys feel about that? So we're engaged in this process in these orientations. So I did it with my family when my son was leaving to come to Berkeley, 12 miles away from our home, 12 full miles. And so we talked about it. My youngest daughter was so excited. I can't wait to go see David in his dorm room. It's going to be great. My wife talked about how proud she was of my son and the accomplishments, what have you. But then my other daughter just kind of meandered away and walked over to her room and didn't say anything. So then, lo and behold, I go pick her up from dance studio, I think 2 days later, and I'm coming back. I said, hey, what do you think about, David going away to college? You didn't say anything and you kind of walked away. What's going on? And she just burst into tears because she was not ready for him to leave. And this surprised me because I was like, oh, darling, yes, absolutely. I understand where you're coming from. However, this is also an opportunity for you to see other things and for you to engage in your brother's college environment or what have you. But what it really taught me was that, whether it's grandma who sees your student, as many times as possible, or an aunt that lives in another city that's close that used to be, everybody is going to feel it, and just know that that's okay. It's fine. It's not that it's good or bad. It's just that it's happening, and we can all learn from that. And so my family learned from that. And so when my daughter went away to school, it was a little easier for us. And we did the same thing. We talked about what was happening. And my youngest daughter just recently left, and she's now a freshman at another college. So away we go. So that was really special to me.
So again, everyone's going to be experiencing this differently. And they'll be handling their own way of just kind of approaching, what does this look like? What does this feel like to me? And maybe how you're feeling right now, maybe some of you are in like processing mode. You're like, this is my checklist. This is, I got to get the sheets and I've got to do this. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And other of you are just using boxes of tissues like you've never used them before, crying all the time. And that's perfectly fine. We want you again, just to do what you need to do to care for yourself and take the time to honor how you're feeling with it. And so again, and your students will have experienced different things throughout this year too, even the first semester. They, in the beginning, it's excitement. It's like, I don't know these people's names. And then you start getting midway through with midterms, that first time those midterm exams coming through. And then maybe for some, coming home for the first time may happen in December. Again, I know a lot of folks are in Southern California. And so for those parents and supporters joining us, there'll be difficulty balancing their newfound adulthood and being your child's, and it may cause some tension, but I know I really love the relationship that I started having with my parents once we transitioned to this next time. So change is part of all of our lives, but the skill of handling change with ease doesn't always come naturally. I'm going to be honest, the amount of just change in this last year and what is the policy right now and what's going on is throwing me for a loop. And I would say I'm usually pretty good at that. You've been preparing for this change for months. Do you remember like the application process? That was almost over a year ago. Next year's application is currently open. And yet now that you're here, it's still challenging, it's still exciting. And it's important to know that the person that you maybe are helping move in or log into their first virtual class will still experience many changes by the time that you connect with them again. There's going to be highs and lows with your student. We want to celebrate the good days, but not really let the bad days outweigh so much. And so we really encourage you to take cues from the student as they need. And at this moment, right now, it is August 9th. For many of them, move-in is happening next week. Golden Bear orientation is starting next week. Classes start in 2 weeks. So how are they acting? They're currently straddling two worlds: their high school or community college experience, time with friends and family they've known for many years, and also this new Berkeley identity. So there could be some pushback, but there could also be like wanting to cling really tight to something that they know and feel comfortable with, because there can be fear as much as there is excitement in this next stage.
Yeah, so what we try to say is we liken being a parent as being a coach. Like, so when a coach is coaching, and what I've done is highlight some great coaches. The lady right here is Terry McKeever. She just came back along with the gentleman in the bottom right, Dave Durden. They were coaches of the U.S. Olympic team for swimming. And they are phenomenal coaches, along with Diane Niemeyer, who won our first women's national championship in softball. But then Terry has won, I think, 4 since then, and all some great Jack Clark, our rugby coach, and all these other great coaches. What they have in common is that they teach the fundamentals, and they teach your arm stroke, how your eyes, where your eyes need to be, and your knees bent and what have you. But parents do the same thing, all the way from ABCs to all the AP courses your student's gonna take in college, in high school, to get prepared for college. What am I gonna do as other outside engaged projects? Am I going to do? Is your student going to be an Eagle Scout or what have you? So you're in the weeds with your student. But when you go to a game or you go to a competition, those coaches do a great job of stepping back, just helping the player with some advice, but not yelling at them, not trying to make sure that they're listening to them, as opposed to just doing what they've practiced already. Your student has performed so well to be here at Berkeley, and they are going to utilize that in their next stage. They're gonna be a great Cal student, because they have planned for it, they have worked hard for it, and they're engaged in it. They're going to be engaged in it. Same as these coaches have done, where the practice is really intense and made and created an atmosphere of success in the competition level. Your student's going to do the same thing. They're going to listen to you. You're the voice in their head that they're listening to. You know, mom always said, you know, do your homework first before you go outside or what have you. And they're going to be doing that. They are who they are. They're going to enjoy Berkeley, but they're also going to be who they are in the classroom and work and do all the things that you've asked them to do. So know that that's happening. Know that we want you to be the competition coach. We don't want you to be the practice coach where you're in there into the weeds and trying to show your student everything. But what you can do is give them some advice. Ask them exactly what they need to do, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you exactly what it is. I had that same situation with my son, where after the first set of midterms, didn't go as well. And I just said, how could you have done better? And he gave me 3 answers that were absolutely perfect that I would have given him. But he had to learn that on his own. And so with that, I never had to worry about him again. He actually did really well on those finals from that point forward. So sometimes they need to fall down and pick themselves up. So allow them the opportunity to let go. They're still going to call you for advice, but let them go do their thing. They're ready. They're ready to go and take that next step.
You may be wondering kind of how do I actually do this? I know David gave the example of just asking that question, and that's awesome. That's a perfect way to really just challenge and ask. And we know that, you know, there's a theory that really says that most individuals grow with a nice balance of both challenge and support in their life. That's someone, again, who has been supported through everything, can't handle a challenge on their own because they don't have never had to deal with that, versus someone who's been challenged and never had support. Eventually you will crack. Well, a note on this, and we need to call out and acknowledge that the various barriers and challenges that students and their families have overcome to make it to today. Some of those could have been in the last 2 years. And while we've all experienced the last 2 years, we have not felt it all proportionally. And while each one of your students were accepted to UC Berkeley, different levels of support to get to this moment, and that shouldn't be dismissed. So what does this actually look like for you? Likely you're here today because you want your students to succeed. That's the point. So just some tips on as they enter this new environment is encouraging that growth and maturation. Like, don't be quick to fix things. And I said this at the beginning, is Berkeley makes students really great advocates of themselves. And don't worry that you don't have to know everything. So even some things in the links that we share with you all on our website of different campus partners, know that, and I'll speak to this later. We're going to go over a lot of these things during orientation. You don't have to know all of this for them. I think often the most successful, our students are actually really incredible when it comes to and competitive in the job market afterwards, because they know how to ask for things. They know how to find things. And I think we're also acutely aware that might feel extra challenging for all of us here. So trying, at least in order to make things a little simpler, which can be hard in this big complex world. But again, when your student runs into difficult challenges, really prompt them, like, what resources do you have? Have you reached out? Because there are so many staff and there's so many incredible folks as resources on this campus, but it may take that first connection to get that support. And I say that knowing there's probably many of you are like, I have 12 emails out to NSS. That may be the case right now. More outreach than ever before, but not more increase in staff. So I know that folks have been doing a ton of outreach and hoping, actually, as maybe this is wishful thinking, as things just finally start for us, there can be some level of returning of our 24 hours in response to things. I'm hoping that will return a little bit also, as folks, there's just I know I'm feeling a little anxiety of what is this actually going to look like. And so it may just also take folks arriving on campus to really feel that.
And how are you going to get there? Well, communication is the answer. The communication communication plan you set with your student will help all of you, whether it's the first kid going away or your third kid. Each student communicates differently with their support system, so tell them what you want them to know. Don't think, oh, they've already heard that. Just go ahead and tell them, create a peace of mind plan. We'll get to these bullets because these are really important. Tell your student what you really want them to know and how to work on themselves. So you've created a great individual, a young individual, and allow them to go do their thing. But when they do ask for any type of info, try to be as helpful with that. Okay. Well, we say create a peace of mind plan. That's just, hey, make sure that you can do it. You can do certain things. And if you get stressed, give us a call and we can talk about it. If you're leaving a party and your parents want to make sure that you're okay, or go for it. Make sure that they send you an emoji, a sleep emoji, that they're home. Okay. But you got to set mutual expectations and you got to set boundaries. You got to say, hey, mine with my students has always been, we'll text, and if I call you, however, for me, that I've told my students that if I call you, you need to pick up. Because I always remind them too that I pay for this bill. So, if I'm paying the bill, I figure you should answer my phone call. So we do that. We talk about, but it's an expectation that I have, that they understand that I have that expectation. And they'll call me out when I'm in a meeting and I don't answer the phone call. They're like, Dad, you didn't answer my call. And I was like, okay. But
their schedules will look pretty different too. I think, especially for those coming from high school, we're used to kind of more of that like 7 to 4. It may look like their schedule is very open. They have a lot more free time, but I promise you they're studying during that time. I think our students are answering questions behind the scenes, can attest. Being in 12 units might mean, multiple hours. For every 1 hour in class is a couple hours studying outside or breaks. So maybe it's part of that conversation like, hey, what's your break time? Or is it Sunday nights we check in? All of those things. So also figuring out what the timing looks like for you all. And the FaceTime, you can see their faces and see
and a lot of them like to do it while they're walking. Mm-hmm. So I know my daughter likes to call us when she's walking. Sometimes she'll FaceTime as she's walking, but that's a great time in between classes for students to get a word in and just to give you a bit of their day. Now, with a lot of conversation or students who might not want to communicate a ton, they might only call you when things aren't great, like that their roommate was mean to them or did something that wasn't cool. And so all you're getting is the negative stuff, or not great, and then you're worried about them. But then you check in. If you were to check in, they might just be like, "Oh, I forgot about that. Well, we moved on and we're running to get coffee or what have you." So know that sometimes will happen, where there will be some times when your student's going to have a little bit of a lull, and you just need to make sure you're there for them. But it's not going to be a lull all the time. Check in on a regular basis to make sure that they're doing fine. When you communicate with them, and the one thing I do tell parents is if you want their grades, tell them about that. Ask them to make you a delegate on their Cal Central. If that's something that's important to you, you need to tell them. Don't just assume or make them, and this was an issue with my son that I really had to tell him, David, this is an expectation. I expect to have this only for two things. I want to make sure you're not flunking out of school, but not only that, I need to pay your bills. So if you want your bills paid, I need to have both of them. So we worked it out. It was fine. Not a problem at all.
And that communication can change. I think back, I wonder, David, you told me stories again, just also how that relationship that you had with your son changed, and how cool it was to see kind of go from that child, like parent-child to kind of adult. And I mean, they will still be there. You will always be their parent, but kind of how exciting that could be. And hey, you get to maybe ask them to give you a little insight on what they're learning in class, and you get some insight of what a lecture is without actually having to sit through it. So there's some perks for you too.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is really interesting is with all the students going home for in COVID times, a lot of our students were having a challenge with their parents that you're like, hey, I have a lot to do, and they're like, but you're right here. You're not, so can you take out the trash? Can you go pick up your little brother? Can you do this, do that? And students were really having a hard time with that because they were trying to get their work done. And when they're off away, and you're studying as much as you study at whether it's library, a coffee shop, or in your dorm, parents don't see that. So they just see you sitting there. And so that was an issue. And so we needed to address that with our parents as well. But it's, this year we're in person and we're looking forward to that, but we're going to be masking up. So start that transition now. We're going to give you I love doing this. This has been one of my favorite things throughout the years. We want to give you parents, we're going to say what, 8 minutes?
Let's see. Let's maybe do 5.
5 minutes.
Lots of questions, and I have a feeling if we gave them extra time but didn't answer their questions, they would be happy with it.
Take 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm going to time you. I got my timer right here. And we want you to write your student a note. You can put it as a text right now. As a text or whatever you want to do right now until you get to write it out, because you're going to have a little bit of time till you move them in. So write it out and leave it with them in a card or as a note. You can even text them or what have you. But I did this just recently with my daughter, and it's the greatest thing. Tell them what you want them to know. Tell them that you're proud of them. Tell them that you're super excited for them. All the things you want to say that you think they know, but they love hearing. So please do that. You got 4 minutes and 24 seconds.
And Dave,
nobody gets
our
5 minutes.
Video. Yeah, well, and we'll take our video so you don't have to stare at our faces for 5 minutes. So we'll disappear for just a little bit, but we'll be here keeping time for you.
So please do that. One minute, 45 seconds left. All right. We hope you enjoyed that piece, and we hope that you did get something down so that you can write a nice letter for your student and leave it for them when you move them into wherever they're staying this year.
Well, thank you for taking some time with us to engage in some more conversation about transition. We are actually going to switch gears a little bit. We said we're going to spend our last time together, really diving into the nitty gritty. Hopefully there's a lot of questions and repeat ones. So we're going to be diving in to what CalParent and family support looks like, what DBO looks like. I think that's a lot of the questions we're seeing there. But before we jump in that, I get the lovely privilege of just sharing a little bit about FERPA. I'm sure you've heard of this, but we think knowing you all are parents, it's really important and supporters to share this. So this is a federal law that prohibits an institution from sharing information about a student with anyone other than that student. And this also applies to say if someone is underage, they don't have to be 18. It's if they're an enrolled student, we honor and protect their information. And part of that is their housing contract, their grades, their finances, their course enrollment, all of those things. I think David mentioned earlier, delegate access. So your students have the ability to share on Cal Central your bill, their grades, or bill in grades. Important to note that grades only come out at the end of the semester. You're not getting progress reports maybe that you were in high school and other spaces. So I just want to share this because we are not trying to say this to not tell you to reach out to ask questions, but there could be different services, specifically like Cal Student Central or billing, who may not be able to talk with you without permission from your student. And while it may feel frustrating, especially if you're like, I'm paying the bill, why can't you speak? It's really coming from a place of protecting the students and knowing that it is their educational program and their degree. They're going to be the ones sitting in that classroom. And you may have noticed this. I think Dave, so thankful for David and the work that he does of sending and collecting and being in many meetings to collect information from across campus to send you all through Letter Home and other sources. But your students are getting the majority of their emails. You might be like, I haven't received a copy. It goes to them. Notice, even as parents, new Student Services has not communicated to you directly. All of our communication is going straight to students. And that can feel different. And so again, that could be one that will feel differently. And we're going to make some adjustments here because we really want to focus on those questions that are coming through to you all. And so again, this will also be available in recording on our website afterwards, but we're going to quick jump in. And I have David. We're going to not do the video right now. It's a really good video. We're not going to show it right now so we can get to some more questions from y'all. And it's going to play anyway. Sorry. All right, I'll hand things over to David.
Okay, CalParents and families, we're here for you. This is our 4 primary objectives: is to be the central resource connecting parents and families to the Berkeley campus. That's it. That's our number 1 goal. We want to empower you with as much information as possible so you can help navigate your student through the Berkeley, through this whole thing. And the thing is just giving them information. Sometimes it's just asking them what they should do and knowing that there are people here to help them. We invite you parents to support the university through philanthropic donations. If you have charities and educational opportunities that you like to give to, I think Berkeley is one of the greatest public institutions in the world. And it's been proven that a lot of the stuff we do is utilized throughout the world, and that research and all the people who come here because of that public research and focus, we need to support them. So if that can happen, that's fantastic. The other thing was we offer some opportunities to connect to the Cal community, and you'll get emails on that. So you can go to the next one. Here's our website. Here's our email, our philanthropic website, and then our volunteer website. But what I don't have on here right now is the CalParents Facebook page, and it's open to everybody. All you need to do is like it, and it'll start to push out all the information that we send out on a daily basis. But there's also a discussion group attached to that Facebook page. And if you join the discussion group, first thing you need to do is make sure that we have your student's full name, your student's graduation year from Berkeley, and you must agree to the rules. If you do not have either one of those, we can't let you in. So we have close to 3,500 people on that list, and there are discussions in that area. And all it is parents trying to help each other, trying to help each other get to handle the issues that come up for your Berkeley student. It's really well done. Okay. Next slide. Okay, I want to go over a couple important dates.
Yeah,
so
we'll just do a quick screenshot. There's not a lot here, but again, because we want to go really, you have a lot of questions about move-in and dining and GBO, so we want to get to those especially. But these are a couple of the big ones that are starting up, and I think the biggest confusion is start of the semester. There's the date that on the calendar, it's the start of the semester versus first day of classes. Start of the semester is really the day that faculty have to be back in their office. That's when they're back on call versus, so the one time that kind of impacts is as new students, they have orientation the week before, but after that, really when you're looking ahead for future semesters, it's looking for the day when classes begin. I think that's probably one of the most important ones to know. All right, so I'm going to dive in, and before I get into Golden Bear orientation, we've been seeing lots of questions about move-in, dining, all of that. So, and we know that I realized I didn't ask you all that question, if your students are living in university housing versus not. So this next little context is going to be specific, I think, to those who are moving into university housing. There are plenty of private residents, iHouse, pools, co-ops. Your students can be living lots of places. So I recognize that some students may not be living in university housing. So if that's the case, you get to tune me out for a moment. But for the most part, our university move-in is August 16th through the 18th. Your students were given a specific day during that time to move in, and they had to then pick an appointment time to the actual time. We are very, our goal is obviously not to tell anyone, but whatever instructions that your student got from housing about their move-in time, they need to arrive within 10 minutes of that. So coming hours early to sneak in is not going to happen. I promise our team will not let folks in. And it spread things out. In 2019, we've moved thousands of people in one day. So I'm hopeful this will spread things out over a couple of days. And part of the main reason for this is all students, not just your students, staff, and faculty need to receive one COVID-19 surveillance test before moving to the residence halls and checking into GBO. So the priority really in these next couple of days is getting all those students into their testing appointments. So the messaging that your students have been receiving is, here's your move-in day, schedule your move-in appointment, then go back in and schedule your COVID appointment. Students will not, they have to do their appointment on that day. They will not be able to move in without a COVID test first.
And the COVID test they'll give you a piece of paper stating that you have completed your testing. Then and the people at check-in will ask you for that piece of paper. So they need a test, and the move-in committee recommends 2 hours. Try to get there 2 hours, or schedule it somehow within 2 hours before you're moving.
So that's messaging that's been going out to students a lot. I saw a lot of questions about dining. How is that going to work? I don't like the meal plan starts, all of that. And I think I'm going to acknowledge, I think we were changing a lot of things up close. So please know your students will be able to eat. So dining halls will be open from when they move in. If they have a meal plan, that's also applies. So say if their student, maybe they're living in an apartment, our apartments are not, students aren't required to have a meal plan, but they can opt into it. So meal plans will begin on the 16th if they're moving in on the 16th. So they will have access to all of their food during that time. I also saw some questions about sequestering. So I'm going to get some contents here. So one of our UC expectations is that students who are traveling internationally and are not fully vaccinated, which means 2 weeks beyond their final dose, need to sequester for 7 days. This doesn't mean, though, that like your student doesn't get to eat for 7 days. We know this is happening. We know visas have been hard to obtain. We know that it's been incredibly complicated. We also know maybe you're coming from a place that you weren't able to get a vaccine, all of those things. So what that means is those students will be able to go outside their dining facility and pick up a meal to go. So they're not going to be expected to not eat for a week or to do DoorDash every single meal. You've paid for a meal plan and you will have that. So please know that that's how that will all work, and it will be coordinated that way too. But I know it's a lot. It's definitely adding this other layer of the surveillance test is complicated. And please know that we're doing this because we recognize the impact of this community coming together on ourselves and the city of Berkeley. We have a lot of responsibility to be safe and to take precautions. And we also know like there's a lot of concerns going on right now. I did hear an incredible statistic, which I'm incredibly proud of, is about 90% of our incoming students have already uploaded their vaccine information, which is really wonderful. And we know that that's not everything, but between that and, to be honest, the very much changing regulations about face covering expectations, or also just if they want to wear them, they can do so. So please know that's also our conversation about making that choice, even if maybe you aren't required to wear a face covering outdoors. If you would like to do so, please do so as well. So if that's something you would choose to do. So it may feel like an extra step. You all are handling a lot on those days, and I am hoping that we can all treat each other with grace and kindness, and knowing that these extra steps, while complicated and changing, street directions, it's in an effort to hopefully make things safer for all of our students, and to recognize that we're bringing together a lot of people from around the globe. And that's also why I love our students. I have a lot of trust in them. They've shown me that they care about everyone else's well-being and want to do the right things. So know that that's going on. I think there were a lot of questions about that. So hope that answered the majority of move-in and check-in questions. I know there's been a lot of emails, but tell your student to look at their housing email. Promise. There's a lot of things in those emails.
Mickey, what about the students who aren't moving into the res halls?
Yeah, so that's great. So I think knowing though that those students will still need to come to GBO check-in if they're doing, if they have GBO with in-person components. I realize I've been saying GBO, I mean Golden Bear Orientation. I should probably, that's one of our acronyms. So your students have been doing other components of the Golden Bear experience already, but it's actually the COVID test is required of all of us. So all new students, all staff, all faculty, all of that is required to get our campus access badge active. So it's basically saying that I'm taking a daily symptom screener. I am compliant with the vaccine policy, and I have gotten my COVID test. And please note, like the COVID tests are not saying that everyone is COVID negative. It's starting to that, so we can do our work on our process for contact tracing and isolation of students if need be. So we have an amazing team at University Health Services. They have staffed up. They have made a lot of changes, and to really address like, hey, if we're getting a positive test, what are we doing? Are we communicating with roommates, with their GBO small group? Are we providing student spaces into our isolation spaces that we have designated, which include testing and support and all of those things. One note, so if your student is not living in university residence halls, they are still being asked to come to GBO check-in one point during those 3 days, August 16th through the 18th. It's not 3 days of check-in, it's one time, and I imagine about 1 to 2 hours between taking their surveillance test as well, which they're actually, if your students are commuting and are in the area, they could take one this week. And I would say that would probably save them lots of time. And then we'll have Golden Bear Orientation starting on the 19th. And we know those couple days, the 16th to 18th will be a lot going on and a lot of trepidation, just because it's a big day for you all without a pandemic. And I think we sometimes forget that it's a big day. And you'd be worried about if you got the sheets on top of, is your car gonna get towed? That's not the goal. Our goal is like, we want to welcome you on a really important day. So please know that that's the underlying purpose of that time, and to do it in a way that we can say when classes begin, we've done an incredible effort to ensure that students are safe. And we know there will be positive cases that maybe that students aren't aware of when they first arrive. And that's where our incredible contact tracing team will come into play and do their communication. They've been responding within 24 hours over this last year. We are already prepping for more humans on campus. So, and that's what, again, being aware of that communication that students are getting and that outreach that they're getting to be able to know, like, okay, this is what's going on. I think those were the majority of our big questions. I think we got food, we've got move-in, we've got testing covered, and check-in for most folks. I'll give a quick overview. And then once Golden Bear Orientation starts, please know we actually made a lot of the programming virtual for all students, regardless of if they're living on campus, if they're still living in Korea. That could be happening. And we knew that because just the challenge of planning this with 10,000 students, we need to serve them. And so majority of events will be virtual for all students. We have worked with about 2,000 students to have them a fully virtual Golden Bear experience. And then our students who have in-person components will be able to have a small group meeting once a day, one meal once a day, and then late night events to really provide them safer social engagement and spaces to be able to connect with their fellow students. So that, and I popped some sample schedules in here, but where you all got to this link likely is also on our website are these sample schedules. So again, I'll pop that there. I'll go back to just this one. So it's sitting there so folks can see some questions, but are there any other, and we'll look at the chat, see our folks.
One thing came up about moving your stuff. And one of the things that has been happening in the Bay Area, I think in Los Angeles as well, is a lot of car, you don't want to show anything in your car if you're spending the night around anywhere else. So just make sure you're covering everything, and or if you can, park it somewhere where you have control over the access to it. Because that has happened a few times because people had it out on a main street or even on a side street, but all the computer and everything showing, and someone smashed the window and took that stuff. And you want to make sure that you want to not have that happen.
All right, I think we have some questions out there. I'm going through here. Oh, and so also to note that while there's those few days, so say if your student is moving in on the 16th, but GBO isn't starting the 19th, the residence halls and the RAs and the folks who work and live there permanently are working on programming and connection kind of on that smaller scale during that time. But it is also going to be a time where students might be like, well, I'm just hanging here and other people are showing up. Really, majority of large scale things, even virtual, will start on the 19th. So that's some time there so for them to hang out. Let's see. And we'll definitely have a lot of break time during orientation if they need to make that target run, if they need some extra things that they have forgotten. Let's see.
There is a fridge and a microwave inside of every dorm room. So it's the micro chill. It has a microwave and a refrigerator in there for your students. I was reading off one of the questions.
I think we've answered the questions about dining halls during move-in. Sorry, I was just looking at all your questions.
So one of the things I did put in there in this important days is to make sure you, if your student's on financial aid, all of the financial aid will be dispersed on, I believe it's the 16th of August. Yes, because it's the federal rule of when you can disperse financial aid. So all of the bills and everything that's on there, it will readjust after the financial aid is dispersed. So know that on the 20th of August, the bills are due, the first 20% at least. If you want to pay it all, it can all be paid by the 20th. And that's the due date. We have suspended the cancel for non-payment policy, so that's not in effect this year. So you will not be penalized if you don't meet that date. But please do. They're asking you to make sure you have it paid by then.
Okay, well, we are actually even 2 minutes over. I'm kind of looking back. I think a lot of the questions we have answered. We haven't touched a ton of the financial aid questions. I would encourage you to go back on our parent supporter orientation page on the NSS site. There are financial aid and billing teams made videos to really walk through piece by piece. And their website, I think, the only downfall is there's a lot of information on it. And so sometimes hard to know exactly where you look. So I would encourage you to go look at, they know that you all are seeing that information starting today. So the context of that video is really knowing you're about a week or two out from billing and other things like that. So those are kind of the biggest things there.
And we're going to send out another to all the people moving into the dorms. We're going to send their parents the information that was sent to the students in the next day or two. So you'll get what they get, and it'll have a map for how to drive within the city of Berkeley that has a lot of one-way streets.
Okay. All right, so we know there's a lot of questions. Would encourage you all to, again, continue. We're going to try to kind of go through them. I think we've gotten at most of them. Some are very specific. So again, don't hesitate to reach out to New Student Services, the CalParents site, or if that CalParents Facebook page. I'm pretty impressed about the crowdsourcing that happens there between that community. They're pretty great about finding answers for each other.
Also, the CalParents at berkeley.edu is a good source for information.
David works very hard to get details for all of you all when he's replying. So that hour has gone by very quickly. And I know there's still a lot going on. Please know that, we are also learning around with you, but we're so excited to welcome your students back. And back could be back into the virtual classroom, back could be into the residence halls, back could be, it could be anywhere. And we know that the things are fluctuating for you and your students, but it's the start of the fall semester and actually starting to feel that energy and excitement. And I walked down Telegraph Avenue and I was like, oh, this place, I haven't been here in a while. And it's a pretty incredible place. And so know that we're excited. Our orientation leaders, over 500 volunteer orientation leaders, are so excited. They're going into training this next week to welcome your new students. And so there's a lot of support systems that they will have. So please note to keep reaching out, to keep writing that letter if you're still working on it, and know that we're excited to welcome you and your students to the Berkeley family. So thank you all. Have an incredible Monday evening, and go Bears.
Thank you all, and go Bears. We say here, Fiat Lux, and go Bears. So looking forward to seeing you, everybody.
Bye, all.